Yoo-hoo! Welcome back to another episode of the Todd Durkin Impact Show. This is episode number 154. And I'm fired up today because so many times when I'm delivering these podcast episodes, we are getting after it. I'm creating content. But today I'm flipping the switch. Today I'm actually a guest on the show. As a matter of fact, this episode was recorded by a guy named Cody Smith, and his podcast is Men on the Rise Project. Now, this is equally going to be valuable for men as well as women, but we filmed it 2 days before my knee replacement surgery, December 5th, and it's called Passion, Purpose, and Impact. And the reason why I'm sharing this on my show, The Impact Show, is because some of you don't know some of the stories I'm about to share. Some of the things I'm going to share my backstory, depending on if you just started listening to the Impact Show or you've been listening for a while. I've got my backstory in here. I talk about how I got into fitness and why now is a great time to be in the business of fitness. Yes, I said now is a great time to be in the business of fitness. I also discuss my morning and evening routine, some of my best habits. I go as deep as all the way into how I can be better in what I do. What are some things I'm striving to do in 2021? As 2020 was wrapping up and I shared some of my takeaways from that in this episode, I want you to think now that we're deep into January of 2021, how are the first few weeks going in January here? And what are we going to do to make sure that we continue to serve and that? So my friends, buckle up. I really believe you're going to enjoy this episode today. And don't forget, as always, at some point, when something resonates with you, snap a photo of it and then tag it on your social media. Tag me on your social media. This is from a man, Cody Smith, Men on the Rise Project, now joining today with the Impact Show. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Or maybe you got to pick it on up. Pick up that stride, pick up that intensity, and let's rock and roll. Without further ado, here's the show, episode 154.
All right, man, welcome back to the Men on the Rise Project. You guys, I have an awesome opportunity to, sit here and record an episode with the Todd Durkin himself. I was telling Todd before we started recording here that I've been following him for a good period of time and had originally heard him speak on Steve Weatherford's show. And instantly in my mind, I was like, I got to get Todd on the show to speak to you guys and to really give you guys some fire. I mean, every time I listen to Todd speak in any capacity, I can't help but want to, run through a wall. So hopefully you guys can, obviously he'll definitely bring you to fire, but hopefully you guys can really understand all these different things that you can learn from Todd. So Todd, welcome to the show.
Cody, thanks so much. Great to be here, brother.
Awesome. So Todd, I've heard your story a little bit on Steve's show. I'd love for you to go into your story. I mean, I heard different, forks in the road for you and stuff like that. And we'll get into some that you're experiencing now, but specifically what's your story? How did you get to what we see on social media and doing all the things that you do?
Well, what it is I do now is I do my best to pour into people to change lives. I mean, I motivate and inspire people. For the last 21 years, it's been at my gym, Fitness Quest 10. I started that with no clients, no money, no business plan. It was on an injury. I suffered a serious back injury playing football, and that led me down a 5-year winding road to healing. And I ultimately opened that and then studio, 2,000 square feet. And it was purely on passion and heart and purpose. And 21 years later, I think I've seen it all. I never thought we'd see what we saw here in 2020.
I know.
And I'll tell you, when it comes to story, I think all of it. When you think about your story, for me, I'm the youngest of 8 kids. And I have 5 sisters, and mom and dad got divorced when I was 5. I was the lunch ticket kid who was poor, and I was a tough little scrappy kid from Jersey. I played football growing up, and I got a scholarship to go to school as a quarterback at William and Mary. And I'll tell you, the one thing that as people who may know me now as a coach or a trainer, I think sometimes they think they see what they see on social media, but what they don't realize is behind that is a lot of hours and a lot of setbacks and adversities. And really, constantly just going deep on my own purpose and what God had in store for me. I've always been pretty good at trying to tap into what He wanted for me and not necessarily what I wanted for me. And even now, as we approach here 2021, as we record this anyway, is man, that's the question I keep asking myself. Is like, hey God, what do you want me to do? How could I be obedient? It's not what other people think. How could I really tap into my best self and create more impact than ever before?
I love that too. And then, from what I understand, there was some people that actually told, like Todd, no to the gym, right? And I can think of the same thing because, before I did some of my stuff, I remember sitting. So I was a government contractor. You said William and Mary, and I was like, oh man, did you spend some time in Virginia?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm from Virginia. I live in Washington now, but
Huh.
I remember sitting as a government contractor for a few years, and I'm writing my master plan in my notebook, sitting in my radar console about how I'm going to start a gym and take over the world, and it's going to be great. And I remember the guy sitting there just kind of like, what are you writing your fitness stuff down? Like you're gonna go open a gym. Like it was like this crabs in the bucket feeling that I got, and
Mm.
I had so many people telling me no. Like, didn't you experience the same thing? Like people kind of telling you like, no, Todd, you shouldn't open a gym. It's not a good idea.
Yeah, of course, and
Yeah,
I still face that now.
sure.
Right, like back then, interesting enough, that was just it was late 1999, early 2000, and when I was opening this studio, there was no memberships. It was only one-on-one training.
Hmm.
Now, if you step back in time, for those of you who are old enough to realize this, in year 2000, one-on-one studios did not exist. They like people looked at me cross-eyed and were like, "What are you doing opening a gym where there's no memberships?" Because at the time it was like big boxes, charge a membership and hope no one comes in. And I
Hmm.
wanted the exact opposite of that. I wanted to be paid only when people came in and trained to get in the best shape of their life. And as a trainer and a body worker, I have a background in massage therapy, rolfing, structural integration, and sports massage. I was going back in between one-on-one training and massage therapy back-to-back hours, literally 8, 9, 10 hours a day for many, many years. People looked at me like I was crazy back then. And sure enough, through time, that the fitness industry changed, just like it's changing now. And people are like, wow, now's a bad time to be getting into fitness. I'm like, are you kidding me? Now's a great time to be getting in fitness because the world has never needed wellness, recovery, exercise, stress reduction more than any time in history. So, how you did it may change. Like the way the brick and mortars are looking, it may change a bit. Hey, it may even revert back to closer to what was in year 2000. But I do believe this. It's never about how you do something. It's about what's your why, what's your purpose, and what are you doing, how you serving people, and then what you do, whether it's a trainer, coach, entrepreneur, online personality, whatever. It's like how are you impacting people? For me, that's what drives me now.
Hmm.
I might not always be a gym owner, a business owner. I just want to change lives, and I don't care if that's through a podcast, Cody, like this, if it's through speaking and writing my books, if it's training. I mean, I love training, I love writing, I love speaking. I want to spend more time doing that, and I want to spend less time doing the things I don't enjoy. So to me, it's always about purpose and tapping into that purpose and not listening to the naysayers and the people who are saying, what are you, crazy? Yeah, as a matter of fact, I am a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I want to do.
Would you say that during this time, there's obviously, like, I'm a big fan of, like, personal development, just as you are, and I really get stuff from people like you. And part of me starting my first podcast and this one was like, I want to give to people what I got over the years,
Mm,
just being able to plug into shows for absolutely free and spending 60 minutes in my car, and like, I call my car the university on wheels, like, to be
yeah.
able to get in the car and to learn and to grow. Like, I've always gotten so much of that. And I say that it has definitely given me a purpose to really give back to people. But I would say, like, during this COVID, like, 19 time, that a lot of people that I follow kind of say that COVID exposed people who have lack of purpose, right? People that didn't have this clear identity of, like, where they're heading and why they want to do these things. Whereas I'd say, like, guys like both you and myself, this has been an opportunity for us to use and really live off of our purpose a little bit, because stuff has been hard, so stuff has been challenging. But being able to still move forward, I think, that is 100% purpose driven. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, in some ways I would, but in some ways I'd say even those like you, myself, and others who have purpose,
Mhm.
I have gone deeper on my purpose and asked myself,
Yeah.
how can I be better? mean, that's the question that drives me out. Like, how can I be better? How can I actually tweak my gifts and actually deliver more purpose and more impact? Um, I think everyone that's stopped and reflected long enough of like, how can I use this time to actually either pivot and change what they're doing or how they're doing it or why they're doing it,
Mhm.
or if you are of purpose of like, hey, how can I better serve my purpose? I'm using the whole month of December, by the way, here in 2020 to go deep on like what changes can I make with even how I do, because I love what I do. But man, I'm not content with what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. I want to make more impact. I want to literally affect millions of people. And to me, it's like I'm not content with just kind of reacting and just kind of like, okay, when we get through this is like, okay, then I'll make the changes. No, let's make them now and make it what you have to do. And those that don't have purpose, I think this time has allowed people to really stop, think, pray, meditate, talk more about purpose and discover, you know what, I'm going to make a big move in my life. And now is the time to make that move. So I think every human being has really had probably more self talk than normal. My only hope is that those people who are talking to themselves deeply are using the right language and not are negatively impacted because they're watching too much news, not listening to the right stuff. Those things will negatively impact your brain and won't allow you to get into dream mode. And I truly believe that now, right now, is the perfect time to be dreaming about what is it that you want to do to maximize your gifts to further impact your community, your state, your country, this planet, this universe, whatever it is. Like, ask yourself, what can I do? And then don't be afraid to do it.
Yeah, I love that too, and that always takes me to. So I periodically will go, and I any clients that I have, people that I mentor and stuff like that. What I always tell them is like, anytime you're really kind of, trying to level up, or you're trying to, be more. A simple question to ask is like, who do you need to become? Right?
Mm,
Like, who is that person that you need to become? And then write down the characteristics of that person. What are the routines they have? What are the mindset that they have? How do they live their life? How do they eat? How do they train? How do they talk to people? How do they treat, family members? And I've always found that that really helps people to kind of expand and to kind of rise, if you will. Um, so for you, like we were talking a little bit before, you've got something coming up, something that for most people kind of puts you between two decisions of like, how are you going to handle this, either positively or negatively, right? So could you share what you have coming up, and really what you're looking at that opportunity as far as like personal growth, like
mm.
you're coming to this fork in the road. Excuse me. You're coming to this fork in the road. How are you going to handle this particular period of your life with what you have coming up on around the pipe here?
Yeah, Cody, thanks for asking. I mean, as we record this, it's early December, and I'm actually 2 days away right now from getting my left knee replaced. I have a major surgery coming up. And let me just share a bit about this because I had my right knee replaced, partial replacement on both the right and now the left, partial replacement. And my right knee has been doing awesome, like fantastic. So much to the point I'm like, and I knew both of them were bad, years ago. And for 9 years, I had been, doing everything I can to prolong this just from old football injuries and bone on bone spurs, uh, bad arthritis. Long story short, 5 months ago, it was like early July 2020 here, and I was really, really struggling in pain, despite getting cortisone shots every 4 months and rooster cartilage, hyaline cartilage, and taking every supplement under the sun to help, with that bone on bone. So my wife was like, "You need to get this surgery now. 2020 is the perfect time. Like, just get it done so you go into 2021."
Right.
I'm like, "Not a chance. There's not a chance I'm getting the surgery. I'm too busy with like save the gym, save the world mode." And that's truly the way it's been. Is I have been so busy and not slowing down and trying to save my gym. We had 42 employees. I think we got 29 last count, right? Like, people are all 42 pre pandemic. Um and and save the gym, save my community, save the world. And just 7 days a week I've been on. Truth be told, my wife Melanie, she's like, "Let's go to Dr. Jenkowitz and let's get, at least start the process." I'm like, "I'll start the process, but there's not a chance." Well, 2 months ago, it got worse and worse to the point like where walking is in a lot of pain, not sleeping at night because the mind is racing, the physical pain in my knee. And still to the point was like, I'll go down this road, but there's no way I'm getting it done. Well, literally 3 weeks ago, I was at the point where I was like so much pain. I'm like, you know what? I hate to say this, but I think the only way I'm going to slow down right now is because this surgery is going to force me to sit my butt in my lazy boy recliner, put my game ready on, and literally take 2 to 3 weeks and slow down. I would not, I mean, I hate to admit this, I would not slow down right now if it wasn't for this, because I am in such a space of serving people, and my purpose is to serve people, and my gym, despite being in the quote purple zone out here in California, we're going and we're outside and we're doing everything we can to serve people and save people. um, it's weird to say this, but I truly believe that God works in mysterious ways. And when I get this surgery in 2 days, I believe it's His way of sitting my butt down and saying, "Hey, 2021, we got bigger things that we've got to accomplish. I need to slow down. I need to pray. I need to open up your journal and write about what are you going to do that's going to create more impact." And that's what I'm going to do. I accept that it's just a few weeks ago that I'm going to get this surgery, and I'm going to attack the rehab. And for the month of December, I'm pretty much going to shut her down and just heal and recover from 9 months of battling. And I've got some great lieutenants at the gym and in my mastermind and in my community that will continue serving over the next few weeks while I'm in total recovery, rejuvenation mode, so that I go into 2021 swinging and literally sprinting, literally sprinting. So that's what's going on. It's a little thing, but it's a huge thing, right? Like in the sense of it pales in the comparison of the pain that many people are going through right now. There's a lot of
Right.
illness and death and all that stuff going on. So it's very, very small. And I feel selfish to even talk about, woe is my left knee that hurts. I have not shared this publicly up until a week ago. My community, no one, because I didn't want to be bringing this in of like explaining it to everybody. It was just a week ago when I finally told my community, my team, and everyone, like, guys, my knee has been really bad. I'm going to get this thing done. I think it's important you have the right medical team, the right doctors, physical therapists, and I'm very, very blessed here to have a great team around me. And I'm at the point now where I've flipped the switch mentally, literally flipped the switch,
Right.
and I'm ready to get the surgery and I'm ready to get it going.
And that's good too, because I know it's a hard decision. I can think of, making a decision to slow down for guys like you is probably extremely challenging, because it's like you had this crazy momentum and you've got all this inertia going forward, and then it's almost painful to slow down a little bit.
Hmm.
But there is always this reason that, a guy that I follow for a long period of time named Garrett White, he always talks about produce and protect, right? He says a lot
Hmm.
of people will just produce, but they never really take a time to slow down and protect. And I'm raising my hand on this. You guys listening to this, like, I'm raising my hand on, I don't like to protect either. I like to always produce. But there's something to be said about slowing down and not necessarily slowing down to reevaluate, but just slowing down and catching your breath, right? I can equate it
Huge.
to like going underwater, holding your breath. You have to come up and get air again so that you can go back underwater, right? I know for you, Todd, that's probably a really hard conversation. But if I know the guy upstairs, he's got something bigger planned for you, and he definitely needs you to recoup so that you can come out swinging.
Yeah.
So I have a question in relation to that. Something that I always admire from people that I have the opportunity to speak to is um, the willingness to always serve others, right? Like, we
Hmm.
guys like you and I who spend a lot of time. I'm a gym owner as well. Owning gyms, we spend a lot of time taking care of other people, and there's just always this push to serve. And I often can't put my finger on where it comes from. I just know there's a willingness to do it and a will to do it, that work. For you, are you able to pinpoint, like, where did Todd Durkin's will to serve people? Where did that come from, and why is it something that's so important to you all the time?
Well, I literally think that came from my parents. My mom's a nurse,
Oh, okay.
and
My wife's a
six out
nurse.
of six out of 8 of my siblings, the 6 out of 7 of my siblings are in the health field in some way, in the serving field. So I think it's part of my DNA. Um, I don't think you need to be in the health field or the fitness field to serve. I do know this is that serving has always been something that just has made me feel fulfilled. Not just feel good, but feel fulfilled, like I'm making a difference. And I think the last 9 months it's been really fulfilling to serve, but it's really tiring, right?
Hmm.
Like when you're serving, you can't serve enough. And sometimes it's thankless. Like sometimes you're serving, you're like, oh, does anyone hear me? Does anyone appreciate what the heck I'm doing for the team or this or that? With PPP money and you're trying to save everything. But I keep coming back to ultimately when you look at your love languages, Gary Chapman, the love languages. I'm a man who thrives on words of affirmation. And I need one thank you a day. I need one email or DM or text that says, hey, your words made a difference. Your actions made a difference. You made my game better. You made me fitter. You made me better. You helped my business or my life or my relationship. I need one of those a day. And that's something that I thrive on. And I know that serving, sometimes I think, man, it's tiring. But in April and May, when I was like holed up in this home office that I'm in as we record this podcast, let me tell you what, I felt like I was handcuffed and shackled because I couldn't serve the way I wanted. I love seeing people. Not that I couldn't serve on social media and Zooms and I was doing all that stuff, um, but like to really be able to be unbridled and serve people the way I want to serve people. So for me, I think part of it's DNA, and the other part is purpose. Again, is just this is what I'm supposed to do. Is my purpose is designed to inspire people to greatness. That's why I get up. It's what can I do to impact someone today? And it might be physically, it might be mentally, it might be spiritually. Many times it's somehow interwoven with all three, right? Because the body, mind, and spirit all work together.
Yeah.
But for me, serving is what it's all about.
Yeah, so you talked a little bit there, and well, first of all, I love that, and I 100% agree with that. So you talked a little bit about just a second ago about body, mind, and spirit, and I know that that's a big component of not only how you guys coach in your gym, but also pretty much how you coach and mentor all of the, because you work with various levels of athletes and stuff like that. Um, was body, mind, and spirit something you've done from day one inside of your coaching, or did you see it as a void inside of coaching? Because I can think for myself, like when I came up in the gym industry, it was all about who could put out the best programming, who could
Yeah.
deliver the best nutritional advice, and record the coolest content. But lately, it seems like there's been this shift, and for most of us who've been doing it for a period of time, we're like, oh, now it's important, but um, the body, mind, and spirit thing, I find that when you really coach people there, that's when all the cool fitness and nutrition stuff, the fitness and nutrition and health stuff really happens for them. Is that something you've always done? And if so, like how have you, for the guys listening to this, how can they start to implement some of those, different ways of approaching things in their mind from the perspective of looking at their body, their mind, and their spirit, and then their
Mhm.
physical health after that?
It's a good question. I
Yeah.
think what I would say is I've always personally been someone who really believes and practices in body, mind, spiritual practices to, I don't want to say enlighten myself, but to
Hmm.
empower myself to be the best that I could be. And by that happening, I was able to put out good content and just things that people really enjoyed.
Right.
I would say this in the last 5 to 7 years, I have become more, I don't want to say outspoken, but I have been in my own spiritual practices sharing more of who I am unabashedly, because it's a big part of who I am. So I'm a man of faith and I share my faith practices where I'd say 10 years ago, I really wasn't outwardly sharing meditations and prayers and my own beliefs and how it was in college when I really deepened my faith walk. Um, and even now, after a lot of my classes and sessions, both at Fitness Quest 10 or at a conference, many times I'll do a standing meditation or prayer with people, and people are asking for more of it. I'll share more of that on my social media. This is just who I am. I think as you get older and wiser, it's just like, hey, this is who I am, and if you like me for who I am, fantastic. And if you don't, that's okay too. I believe we can all learn from each other. For me, I've always been someone that's been raised with good values, and I grew up a large Catholic family, and then in college, really just learned about my faith walk as a non-denominational Christian. Um, and just in the last, I'd say 5 to 7 years, my faith has only deepened. The last 9 months, it's just been more time speaking with God, listening to God. And when I talk about tap into the whispers, it's one of the chapters of my Get Your Mind Right book is tap into the whispers. It's one of the things I'm most looking forward to with this surgery is because I wrote that book, Get Your Mind Right, in 2018. It just came out in June of 2020. I wrote it on my lazy boy chair after my surgery, um, literally 2 years ago. So it was by slowing down, by tapping into the whispers that God said, start putting pen to paper. And I wrote that book. And it's why even now with this recent surgery that's upcoming here is I'm excited to see what does God have in store for me. So I just think it's always been part of who I am, but the last several years it's been more of like, this is who I am. I have no qualms, or I used to be a little more timid about sharing my faith walk. And, oh, if I bring up the word God, like, are they going to like not like me?
Right.
Now it's not, it's just like, this is who I am. And I'll say, God, like, this is who I am and what I believe. It's okay if you don't believe what I believe, but if you want to learn who I am, this is who I am.
Yeah, and something I can appreciate about that too is something a mentor of mine shared with me a long time ago. Is first and foremost, he told me to document everything, to show everything on my social media account because for some people it's always so curated, right? Like we always want to just kind of show the highlight reels. And now, granted, I try to keep most of the somberness off of it. I mean, for a lot of us gym
Right.
owners, there's been some dark times here recently, and a high level of frustrations all the time. So. But for the most part, I want people to be able to plug into, my social media accounts and be able to get something
Mm,
from that, right?
sure.
But when we document everything and then we really show who we are and what we stand for, we tend to find, because I run very parallel to you, right? Ultimately, I land on Todd Durkin's page, I hit the follow button, and here we are, right? Like that's because I identified with that. So I think, it's okay to do that. It's okay to be ourselves because we'll only attract more people like us, which will ultimately we can all rise and grow together, right?
Hmm.
So I'm always very fascinated, and this is something for as long as I can remember since I've been watching videos and stuff like that of people is I'm always interested in the vlogs, right? What do they do every day? How do they eat? How do they live? How do they do life? What's their relationship like? Like I get so much from that, and I'm sure a lot of the guys listening to this could too. So, what is a day in the life of Mr. Todd Durkin himself, the high energy gym owner, motivational speaker, author? Speaking of which, are we going to see a second book coming with this surgery here?
I'm not sure yet. I got to tap into the
Yeah.
whispers.
Cool. So,
I'm
what
not,
is
I'm not sure yet.
what are some daily habits and routines that really keep you on fire and allow you to show up in a big way for not only your followers, but I'm sure like your family and your clients?
Yeah, a few things, and people always ask me about my morning routine, and
Right.
I'll share that in a moment. But I actually just did. I've got a podcast myself, and I just did a podcast episode on nighttime routine because what I've been finding, not only because of my knee, but my sleep has been disrupted. So I went into my whole nighttime routine, which starts 3 hours before going to bed, and with what I'm eating at night, and then 2 hours before not working, and then 1 hour becomes extreme personal care. I mean, I'm a little extreme when it comes to I don't call it self-hacking, but like I have a Juve red light wall. I mean, I dial in no phones on the last hour. I do my best to do that where I'm disconnecting with blue light and work and trying to journal. So I've got this whole routine that I do in the evening, and I'm not perfect at it. Please, guys, as you listen in, I'm not perfect, but I have like some rules that I've set up of like, guys, the last hour I got to get off my phone. I can't be scrolling on Instagram and checking my texts or emails. Nothing good is going to come at checking an email at 10 o'clock other than an employee or
Zero.
a
Some
client or
bad
member
news.
situation that you can't deal with, and you like, gosh, why did I do that? And then you beat yourself up, right? Y'all are laughing right now because you can probably
For sure.
understand. But I'd say this: when it comes to best habits, number one is is working out. I mean, I was working out the other day and I'm thinking, my mind wasn't right, by the way. My mind isn't always right. And I worked out with my son, Brady, who's my 15-year-old. And afterwards, I'm like, dang, I feel so good right now. Like motion truly is lotion and movement is medicine. I say it all the time, but like the literal biochemical response that happens with movement. with dopamine and oxytocin and serotonin and endorphins. It's 10 times more powerful than morphine. So working out every day, I've been doing that even with a bum knee. I work out every day. I don't care if I hobble around with a walk or an elliptical, but I hit strength every day. Can't do a lot with the legs right now, but I do it not to look a certain way, but I do it just to get my mind right and to feel a certain way. My morning routine also consists of quiet time. Typically, I like to say at least 10 minutes, but like even this morning, I read a devotional. I've got a Pastor Jeremiah, David Jeremiah, who's one of my clients. I have a devotional. I have a journal. It's a blank journal, and I just try to have quiet time, literally sit there and think and listen to what God's telling me, and then I'll pray. So 10 minutes of that is always a great way. I do that most days of the week. Um, and obviously when it comes, you talked about it earlier a little bit, but nutrition, um, it's been hard the last several months, and I've got to clean it up even more. I just with the surgery, I've got my whole rehab, recovery, supplementation routine dialed in. But I'll tell you, the last couple months have been tough in the sense of just, you know, too much sugar. And I had some rules early on. I've always had a 2 beer a month rule, no more than 2 beers a month. That's my rule. But I said no alcohol for the pandemic, which is, I enjoy 2 beers a month every now and then. So I'd say those are some of the rules I'd follow or some of my best practices. The ones that might look a little more mundane but are really important, I don't watch the news. I'm sick and tired of hearing about COVID-19. It's not to diminish the importance of what's going on, but I just figure if it's that important, I'm going to find out what's going on. I'm going to continue to serve my purpose. I don't want to talk about it. I want to look in the front windshield of where I'm going and not in the rearview mirror of what's going, what's behind me. Where are we going? What are we doing? How are we going to get there? Who am I going to serve? And how can I serve best and safely? So yes, we're all at the gym. We're practicing safe habits and masking up and 6 feet apart and cleanliness, all the other stuff. But I want to be in total servanthood mode of what we're doing. And I always say this is my God is bigger than our governor. So what we're going to do is I'm going to serve my God, and my God is going to, share with me what I can do. So that's what I'm trying to do. So my best practices deal with everything from training to nutrition to my faith walk, all the way into how I'm serving people, what I'm not doing, which is not watching the news. I'm really minimizing the junk food and garbage that sometimes creeps in while watching a football game. God, thank God football's on. So yeah, that's kind of like some of the best practices.
Yeah, I love that too. And something so you guys listening to this, what I've always found with anybody that I've talked to, who is expanding at a higher level, there's always this, not only just an awareness of like the need to grow and to find time and space for themselves, but everybody gets up, for the most part earlier than everybody else so that they can be alone. Being alone is actually good for you. The constant noise of even this, podcasting or the news or the TV or music, there's always just stuff on. So it's nice for me especially to get up. Like I like to get up at 4:30 in the morning. I like it. I look at it as like my magic time, right? I sit up, I journal. I will often do some sort of meditation, some sort of prayer, but it's because I'm by myself. I've got 3 boys, a dog, a wife, clients and things that buzz on my wrist and in my pocket all the time, and it's just nice to just get that time to myself. And I do that especially for, like, I am a leader, I am a person that serves people, so that I need to make sure that I'm good before I can go and I can pour out to anybody else. And that's something I can always appreciate when I talk to really anybody else that's looking to expand, is because there's always this high level of focus put on, like, how can I get me right first? Right.
Mm-hmm.
So for men listening to this, I mean, you're probably a dad, you're probably a husband, you're probably a leader of some sort. And if you're not a leader of other people, you're a leader of you. Make sure that you do take the time to get you right. Right. Because if you don't get your mind right, like, how can you really go and serve anybody?
Yeah, no, great point on that, Cody. I always say, you can only go as far as you grow. And
I love that.
yeah, and part of what I say is it's the discipline to do what you got to do. I call it your WLWL, when life works list. When life was working best, what were you doing? What were you eating? Who are you training with? Where were you living? How are you living? Who are you hanging out with? Who are you not hanging out with? Right now, I think we have to uber dial into all of those things. I'm very, very regimented in my routine, meaning this, like right now in December, I'm already working on my strategic plan for 2021. People are like, strategic plan? Like, what happened to 2020 strategic plan? I'm like, yeah, it blew up like everybody else's, but I've got to have a vision and a plan of where I'm going and what I'm doing on that, because it keeps you looking forward. Well, how do you do that? That means I'm going to read 10 pages at night. That means I'm going to continue to invest in myself with my own growth, because that mind being stimulated, sometimes even listen to a podcast episode like this, you're listening to it so your mind is stimulated and you're growing, and like, hey, how can I better serve my wife or my kids, and that's, some of the opportunities that the pandemic has served as family time and that stuff. So I just think that when it comes to your discipline right now, it's like, what do you have to do, and then sit your tail down and do what you got to do to make the needle move. And that's the bottom line. So, it's strategic plan for me. Every Sunday I do my W.L.W.L. It's a form of journaling every Sunday without fail. I'll do it Sunday after my surgery on Saturday. Like, what I'm going to do is my wins from the past week, my losses from the past week, my aha moments from the past week, and my goals for this upcoming week. And now this upcoming week, after I do my W.L.W.L, I'll be about healing and recovery and a lot of reading and just literally recovering. But I do that every week, and I've done that for a decade now. And I believe much of my success that I've achieved would be based on having very specific plans on how to do that, and then actually doing it.
I love that too, and it's funny. I just recorded an episode that I just put out on Tuesday, like how to plan your week, right? Because that's something I'm such a huge fan of, the Sunday plan, and I do a
Mhm.
lot of the same things. Like I look at my life and body, mind, relationship, and business, and I'll look at it throughout the week and be like, okay, where's my win? Where's my loss? Where's my win? Where's my loss? And I'll go through that little that sequence of events, and then I actually go back and look at my journal entries, like, hey, where was my mind space at this week? Like, how can I develop it? What was, what was working that week? What was not working? And it's something that I really stress to all the guys that I work with, like, hey, listen, you got to make sure that you do this because it really gives you direction from week to week. But on top of that too, like, I'm a big fan of creating either a 30, 60, or 90-day plan periodically throughout the week too. Do you have something similar in your life? I know that you have talked about goal setting before. I'm not exactly sure about how you do it, but is there a particular way that not only do you do your Sunday planning, but that you do set goals periodically throughout the year?
Hey, buckle up.
Yeah, I like
uh,
it.
I'll make this as short and sweet as possible, because
Sure.
I am very regimented in that sense, and I've really worked on this system. I actually share it in my book, chapter 3. It's all of how you focus your time, energy, and just your time and energy is everything when you look at those. But this is, I think of life as reverse engineering your life. So what do you want out of life? What is it that you want? And I have this system where okay, write it down and then reverse it all the way down into 10 years. What's my dream? What do I want to do in 10 years? 3 to 5 years, 1 year, 6 months, 90-day. I call it the 90-day wonder. And I love working in 90-day periods based on where am I going this year? Where am I going next 3 to 5 years? Where am I going in 10 years? And what do I want out of life? 10, 3 to 5, 6 months, 90 days, and then into the month. So when December here, when we just, as we're recording this, just kicked off, I do what's called my 10 forms of wealth and 3 and 30. My 10 forms of wealth, I have a circle I've created. It's all based on some of the things you just said with,
Hmm.
your spiritual self, your physical conditioning, your primary relationships, your career, your finances, your adventure, your legacy, all of the 10 different parameters. And I share it in the book. And and then what I do is I have goals for each of those 10 areas. Matter of fact, I call it 3 and 30 because I have 3 goals in each of those areas. And someone said, you mean you have 30 goals in every month? I said, of course. I said, because all of those areas I'm going to be doing anyway. I'm going to be doing physical conditioning. I'm going to be doing spiritual conditioning. I've got a career. Can I get 3 goals a month for my finances, for adventure, for my relationships, for my love and my legacy? So that's a really crucial part. My 90-day wonder. Then I go down into the month, which is the 3 and 30 and the 10 forms of wealth, which allows me to set up my success every week, which is my W lags, which allows me to set up every single day. And my day, when I look at my win the day formula is all based on my WLAGs, which is based on my 10 forms of wealth from 3 and 30, which is based on my 90-day wonder, which is my 6-month, 1 year, 3 year, 3 to 5 year, 10 year, and my life purpose. So I reverse engineer everything back. Be like, does it always go as planned? No. And I don't stress about when I don't achieve something or I don't do something. That's okay. But I know today, what do I have to do? I know I'm going to record 3 to 5 podcast episodes after this, Cody, because I know based on what I need to do for this week, this has to get done. So when surgery happens, this is for the week, which is all corresponding to where it's going. So when you ask about my overall macro plan, that's how I view life as far as getting GSD, getting serious stuff done. Is you got to have somewhat of a plan. That's the plan that's worked for me. I share the entire plan in the Get Your Mind Right book, but that's how I operate. And I'm very, very calculated. I don't get so crazy. Like if I get off course, it's just about when you look at peak productivity in a quadrant system, quadrant two is where all the magic happens. Most people come down into non-urgent, non-important things like scrolling on Instagram or social media or watching TV, watching the news and all that. That's not stuff that's going to actually move the needle very far. You've got to do things and say, this is based on my God-sized dream. My divine purpose is this. And then go, okay, what do I need to be doing today that's going to serve that? And what steps do I need to take over the next month, 6 months, year, all the way up?
I love that too. And what I like to tell people with like with goal setting, because you're right, like it's never like this straight line. And there's two ways I go about explaining it. So I talk about this thing called the gap, which is, okay, this is where I want to go. My bigger purpose, my bigger vision. This is where I'm heading in X amount of time. This is where I am. You identify this gap, and then there's this navigation from the starting point to the ending point as you travel your gap. But during the gap, I used to be in the military. I was a Navy guy, and I was part of like the navigation of the ship. So when I explain this to people, I'm like, when I was in the Navy and I was, part of the navigation team, we would have this course from where we were going and to the spot that our CO or our XO or our quartermasters wanted us to go. There's this direction. But when you look and you would, plot yourself on the map, even though it's a perfect straight shipping line that you want to run, you're off sometimes, right? You got different currents, you got wind, you're navigating this big, huge carrier. Like you're actually getting off course a little bit. But if you don't know where you are and where you're heading, how can you ever course correct? How can you ever, your weekly things when you sit down and you course correct per se, if you're not doing that and you don't know where you're going, what are we really doing other than just kind of wandering and being, a wandering generality in life? And I think that's so key. And I hope that the guys listening to this right now can really key in on that. And number one, go purchase your book, because I wrote a note to myself here, go buy his book. But I think that it's so important for people to get really specific on what are we doing? What are you doing in your life? You've got maybe 100 years, depending on how well you take care of yourself. Wouldn't you rather it be a very quality 100 years other than like, oh, I spent, I don't know if our iPhone can tell us how long we've been spending on social media over the course of years, but do we want to look back and like, wow, I spent 5 years on Instagram? Or would it be like, wow, I spent 5 years planning exactly what I want, living to my exact purpose and loving and caring for everybody that I came in contact with? I feel like maybe that's probably a lot more purpose-filled life and something that people can really hang their hat on when their time is done.
Right. Love it.
Yeah,
absolutely
cool.
Love it.
Cool. So people listening to this right now are watching, this Todd guy, and he's super fired up all the time, and he's got this impact shirt, and he just gets us really jazzed up. But they often will look at that, and there's almost this intimidation, like, oh, I can never have that. I can never be like Todd, right? How could I possibly be like Todd? What would you say to that person, right? Because sometimes it's just this, you can share some stories or that word of advice, like, get out of your own way, you can do it,
Yeah, I would say you don't want to be like me. I really would. I'd say be like you. I say it all the time, like, you don't want to be someone else, anyone else, whoever you look up to, listen to, whatever. Don't try to be like them. You can learn from folks like me or Cody or whoever, you follow. But don't be like me. I mean that, like, be like you. Just learn, like, hey, how could I be? What characteristics or traits can I take from him to potentially use in my own life to manifest my own gifts, whatever that is, because all of us have unique gifts. I would say this is, a lot of people see that high energy guy. I truly do always strive to be the most positive person in a room. Always have. I want to be the most positive person in the room. And that's real and that's genuine. I am always looking for the opportunities in the darkest of times. Man, if we get stay-at-home orders here in the next few weeks, I'm going to find another opportunity to spin it to somehow say we're getting through this and we're not going to let anything slow us down and stop us from where we're ultimately going to go. But, the high energy guy that I am, I also have times when I do turn it off. And my wife, Melanie, she'll be the first to admit is, not everyone always sees that, but it's kind of like an athlete. Athletes, when it's game time, they show up and they play out. So when it's time for me to go on stage, or it's time for me to go to work and to train my athletes or my clients, when I walk through the doors, it's like pop, 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 pop. We got to roll. Let's go. It's game time. But my early morning routine, it's not crazy. Like I'm quiet. I'm introspective. I'm thinking. I'm more introspective. I like to get my quiet time. I like to get me time. But when it's time to go, it's time to go. And I love that time. I love to be on, but I realize I can't be on if I'm always on. And that's one of the reasons why I'm really looking forward to being off here in December, because 2021, I'm going to flip a switch and it's going to be brighter than it's ever been before. But I realize I can't continue to go at the pace I'm going and then go into 21 sprinting. So the reminder is for any of us is remember, I live by a sprint, rest, sprint, rest, sprint, rest mentality. I've been sprinting for 9 months like many of you. Because y'all can, if you're a parent, you're supporting your families and you're doing everything you can. You're homeschooling your kids. We got 3 kids. It's nuts. It's like sometimes you need a long weekend or sometimes you need a week just to chill out. And I hope these holiday periods allow people to recover, rest, rejuvenate, and get ready for what's going to be a great sprint here in 2021.
Like that, man. I love that a lot. So Todd, like I said, I know you have like 62 podcasts to record after we're done here. So last parting question, and then I'll let you plug yourself. But last parting question, and usually I kind of go one of two ways with it. But the one that I want to ask you about today is, I love that you're so into your purpose. I love that you're very clear on that. Um, I often do this thing where like I sit down and write my own personal eulogy of like what do I want people to say about me, when my time is done. So along that same line, for you to really look back and be like, I did what I needed to do. What is that, that lasting impression or like that big dent that you want to leave in the earth here that we are spending our life at?
Yeah, interesting question. My answer may surprise you,
Okay.
is because I actually um, have my tombstone already created.
Nice.
Yeah, I do.
Love it. Love it.
Is because why? I have a visual of it, and I'll read it to you. It says Todd freaking Durkin. My birth date, dash mark, my end date. I'm gonna die on October 10th, 2082. 10/10/82. 10 is my favorite number. 2082, I'll be 110 years old. So I know my birth. I'm going to die on 10/10/2082. I'll be 110 years old. And on it, it says, the impact man inspired millions to greatness and helped people live a life worth telling a story about. This man created impact. Father, husband, coach, trainer, life transformer. That's my tombstone statement. And the reason I say that is the freaking part is because sometimes I've had to remind myself who I am. I'll say it. I'll say probably today, don't forget who you are. You're Todd freaking Durkin. And that came from and I don't know if you know this. I was on a show called Strong a few years ago. It's now on Netflix. It's called Strong. And I was on this show and I got booted off. I came back on. I go to this opportunity challenge. And one of the trainers said, don't forget who you are. You're Todd freaking Durkin. You got this. And I did. I said it to myself and I came back and was the oldest trainer there. And I came back in this thing. And I think sometimes people need to put the freaking between their names. Like right now, if you're beaten, if you're down, you're depressed, you're like, I can't peel myself off the couch or the bed. I'm in a funk. Then put the freaking between your name and remind yourself who you are. Like I do many times a week that's who you are. And then for me, it's not a morbid statement to think about because all of us are going to die. I just want to know that when I'm done, that I was the best father, the best husband, the best coach and trainer I could possibly be, and then I change lives. That's why I exist. So when you think about impact to me, I want to know how can I be a better father today? How can I be a better husband today? How can I serve my wife more? It's not like what can she do for me? What that can I do for her? right? You talk about serving, like serving your family. Sometimes it's easy to serve your gym and your people and the people who are like, help, help, help. And like your loved ones are right in front of your face and you're like spending 12 hours like I used to at the gym on that stuff. So to me, when you ask about legacy and impact and that stuff, I've probably spent more time than most, not only through my own mentorship and coaching others, but in my own personal growth and development. That's what drives me, man. That's what drives me is like, this is who I am. And how can I be a better father? How can I be a better husband? How can I deliver more impact? And I think 2021, when I tap in these whispers here this month and the end of the year, I'm going to make changes. I'm making changes that I know that I'm going to 10x down, not double down. I'm going deeper on my initiatives of what I'm going to do to make sure that I can live my life's purpose.
I love that. So if you guys aren't fired up by the end of this show here, I don't know what else can really get it. If not, go back and run it again and again and again until you get it. So Todd, thank you so much for coming on today. I know you've got, like I said, a bunch of stuff to do after this. Where can people go to learn more about you? I am going to post a link to your book inside of the show notes as well, and I'll probably buy one for both myself and my family and my team here. But where can people go learn more about you?
If you love podcasts, like you're listening to Cody's here today, I've got a podcast. It's called the Todd Durkin Impact Show. Also, I love Instagram and Facebook. So if you go to Todd Durkin on Instagram, check that out. I got a website, todddurkin.com. And I'd say this is, certainly follow me up and listen to all that stuff. But Cody, thank you for what you're doing. I want to remind all of you the power of training and exercise. Get out there and move your bodies. It's nothing better when you're moving, walk, jog, run, lifting weights. Put on a podcast before you listen to your music. Get 15, 20 minutes in the car, in the plane, in the train, while you're exercising, and listen. I'll tell you what, exercise is so crucial. Now more than ever before is like, let's double down on your goals of what you're going to do now as you listen to this for your own physical health. I say this, he or she who has their health has 1,000 dreams. He or she does not has one. Get your health.
Like that, man. Like that. Todd, thank you so much for coming on today, and good luck with the 60,000 podcast after this.
Yeah, baby. Appreciate you, Cody.
Cool,
thank you.
Thank you.
My friends, thank you so much for listening to that episode. I hope you enjoyed everything about that. It was interesting when I was listening to that just last week when I was getting everything ready for episode 154. To hear my mindset just a couple days before surgery on December 5th, to hear about how I was going to use December as an opportunity to tap into the whispers and to slow down for about 2 to 3 weeks. Well, I'm just a little over 7 weeks now of my knee rehab and doing great. I'd say I'm about 75% back. I'm feeling great. Energy is back. Vitality's back. And I also, in the show, as you heard, I talked about purpose. I talked about changes. I talked about overcoming adversity and challenges. Wherever you are at today, whether you're facing adversity or you're really, really excited about the year ahead here in 2021 as we got the Super Bowl coming up next week and we've got some great things ahead. What I want you to do is I want you to think about what's moving your soul. When I talk about getting juiced up, when I talk about really, what's juicing you up, what is that? Hold on to that and dial into those habits. So not sure exactly what point of the episode with Cody resonated with you, but I want to hear about it. I absolutely love hearing from you, whether I know you or not. We have listeners of the Impact Show all over the globe, but I always love hearing from you, whether I've met you or not. I want to hear what are your best takeaways, and I'm so excited for this week coming up. Let's go out there and crush the day, crush the week, crush this month coming up. I love you guys, and I can't wait till next time. And remember, as always, you got to train hard. You must eat right. You got to live inspired and go out there today and create impact.